What does it mean to have self-worth? Oh man, have I struggled with this. A while back, I received a comment from a follower who told me she struggled with feeling like a burden to others. My response to her was that I've also struggled with feeling like this. But over time in my journey, I've come to realize how much worth and value I have, and that people don't look at me as a burden, but as a gift. And I reminded her that she has so much to offer this world. But after sending this message, I knew that I had a lot more to say on this topic. Understanding our worth and value isn't something we can solve in an instant. I think that struggling with our sense of worth is a human condition and something that many of us will continue to work on throughout our lives. Now, it feels like I'm digging up the past to be talking about these things now, because I have worked through so many of my issues around my worth and value over the years. But this was a really big issue for me. If I can share my thoughts and feelings about a really hard time that I went through, I'm doing it because I hope that it can help someone else who can relate to this topic. So my struggle of self-worth started a long time ago, right about early middle school. Now, of course, my accident, becoming paralyzed from the chest down, certainly didn't help, but this was a problem that I had before I fell through that trapdoor. Because I struggled with my worth, I compromised in my relationships with boyfriends. I did whatever I could to be in the popular group at school. And ultimately, I hated what I saw when I looked in the mirror. I hated my height, I hated my nose, and I always tore myself down. And then I had my accident, and I felt like the little worth I had was now completely lost. It took me years to build back a small sense of worth and value with having a disability. So when it comes to struggling with my sense of worth, I thought it was just me. I thought I was the only one struggling with this. And my biggest struggle with my self-worth came when I met Doug. I really had to confront this feeling that I didn't have worth. And people said terrible things to me when we first got together. They said things like, "Oh, he must have an ulterior motive. There's no way he can really love you." And those words really stuck with me and impacted how I felt about myself and the value I could bring to our relationship. They became a constant loop in my thoughts. Why is Doug with you? Why does he love you? Why doesn't he pick somebody that's able-bodied? These people must be right. There must be an ulterior motive. Were my thoughts. And after Doug and I got married, I went to counseling to work through these feelings. And I was embarrassed to bring up the topic at first. But my counselor helped me to realize that it wasn't just me. It wasn't just a Tasha problem or a disability problem. This is something that a lot of people struggle with. She shared a story about a woman who was married to a famous athlete and was drop-dead gorgeous, and yet she felt like she didn't have worth. And another person made nearly $1 million a year, but she also struggled with her feelings of worth. My counselor showed me that this is actually a big problem that many people struggle with. And I was so surprised to realize that I wasn't alone in these feelings. So here are my thoughts about what I've learned about self-worth. First, one major sign of having a low sense of worth is that we allow people to treat us in unhealthy ways. This can be an emotional or physical abuse, or perhaps we stay in toxic friendships for too long, thinking that we can't do any better. When we don't have a strong sense of worth, we tend to settle for less in our lives. Second, we're afraid to take chances and try new things. We tend to think we can't do it and that we aren't strong enough or good enough. When we have low self-worth, we live in fear. We don't trust other people and we're held back from reaching our full potential. These are all some effects of poor self-worth, but now what I want to focus on is what it means to have a healthy sense of worth. What does worth actually mean? Worth is the quality that renders something desirable, useful, or valuable. Self-worth is the internal sense that we're good enough and that we are worthy of love and belonging. In other words, worth means that we know we have value to offer this world. This plays a big role in our interactions with others. When you believe that you have worth, you believe that you don't have to settle for relationships that are toxic. Now, if you've ever heard me speak, you know that I talk a lot about purpose. So how do purpose and worth relate to each other? Well, I define purpose as having meaning for your life. And I believe that purpose and worth go hand in hand. When you feel that you have worth, you're more likely to also feel purpose for your life. Worth gives you confidence in what you have to offer and share with others. And worth is the feeling that you're here for a reason, which goes on to positively affect your attitudes and your thoughts. And I've seen how having worth trickles over into my life. It affects my purpose, knowing I have value. And for me, my worth is knowing that I have something to give to others and I can make the world a better place. So when we're not strong in our worth and value, it's easy for someone to come and tear it down to nothing. A year before I met Doug, I was in a relationship with a guy where he really tore down any worth and value that I had built up over the years since my accident. He would even say things like, "You're lucky to be with me. No other man would do what I'm doing for you." And because I didn't have a healthy understanding of my worth, I believed him when he said these awful things to me. I let all those negative words run on a loop inside my brain. And if you've ever found yourself talking really awful to yourself internally, pause and reevaluate your thoughts. Would you ever talk to your friends that way? Probably not. So why are you allowing those negative thoughts to consume your brain? Not only did I have to build up my worth, especially after this relationship ended, but I also had to surround myself with people who saw my worth. My sister is the one that reminded me that what my ex-boyfriend said was not true. She helped me so much to build up my worth and value. And Doug has been huge in showing me my worth. Every single day he tells me how much he loves me and how beautiful I am. He's just such a great encourager, and through his words, he builds my worth. Having a healthy relationships is so important in believing that we have value. And I'm so thankful that I worked on this part of myself and have also strived to have more positive thoughts over the years. Having a positive sense of worth makes life more enjoyable. When we believe we have worth and are facing troubles, we're more resilient and we bounce back faster from setbacks. So if worth is something that you struggle with, one of the best things you can do is work on talking more positively to yourself. Banish those negative thoughts and replace them with positive facts and attributes about yourself. Tell yourself that you're unique and beautiful and good. Tell yourself that you are enough and that you have a lot to offer this world. As you start to focus on these positive thoughts, you're going to believe in them and see them for the truths that they are. Now, if you're like me and you've had people say terrible things to you over the years, which have eroded your sense of self-worth, I want you to think about the exact opposite of the things that they said. Maybe it was a bully at school or a toxic friend or an unhealthy relationship with a boyfriend, girlfriend, or spouse. Whatever they said to you, flip it on its head. If they said you're unwanted and stupid, replace that voice in your head with I'm smart and I have purpose. My counselor taught this to me as a way to overcome the negative loop that was always running through my mind. She told me to literally say the opposite of what my negative self-talk was saying. If you're struggling to think of what those positive thoughts should be, ask people who care about you for some help. Ask them to share some positive things about you. Find the truth and focus on that. Let me say that again. Find the truth and focus on that. Another way to improve your self-talk and sense of worth is through inspirational quotes. I have positive quotes all over my mirrors to remind me of my worth and purpose. And to squash those negative thoughts, it helps to literally have positive things right in front of you where you can't miss them. So if you try these tactics and you're still struggling, I encourage you to talk to a counselor or therapist and ask for some strategies to improve your self-worth. I am so glad that I talked to a counselor about this years ago because it helped me fully embrace my relationship with Doug and stop living in fear and mistrust. When I found my worth, I realized that I was worthy of Doug's love. If you want to know more about this journey, I encourage you to read my second book, My Next Move Forward. Throughout that book, I share my journey of discovering my worth and value and embracing my relationship with Doug and the beautiful life we have built together. This book is available on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the caption of where you can find it. So as we wrap up today's video, I just want to encourage you to love yourself. You have value and purpose and great worth. You have so much to offer this world. Your worth is not something you have to earn. All of us are born with worth and value. So thanks for listening, and be sure to share this video if you found it helpful. Thanks.